The text message that destroyed Olivia's life arrived at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Don't come home. Your things are on the lawn. We're done. Jay. Olivia stared at her phone, her 7 months pregnant belly pressing against the steering wheel of her car. She'd just left her prenatal appointment, the one James had promised to attend and then canceled on, again. The one where she'd heard their daughter's heartbeat alone, again. The one where the midwife had asked if everything was all right at home, and Olivia had lied through her teeth. This had to be a mistake, some kind of cruel joke. James wouldn't, he couldn't. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a photo. Black bin bags scattered across their perfectly manicured front lawn in Hampstead. Her clothes spilling out, her books, her jewelry box, everything she owned, thrown out like rubbish for the neighbors to see. And standing in the doorway of their $2.3 million Victorian terrace, wrapped in a silk dressing gown that Olivia recognized as her own, was a woman with platinum blonde hair and a smile that said she'd already won. Olivia's hands started shaking so badly she nearly dropped the phone. She drove. She didn't remember starting the car or pulling out of the clinic car park, but suddenly she was on the North Circular, heading toward Hampstead, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. But it was. She could see it in her mind, James planning this while she was out, probably laughing with that woman as they packed up Olivia's life, probably celebrating their freedom from the pregnant wife who'd become inconvenient. 20 minutes later, Olivia pulled onto her street, their street, and felt her stomach drop. It was worse than the photo. Her belongings were everywhere. Clothes trampled into the grass, photo albums left open to the rain that had started falling. Her grandmother's quilt, the only thing she had left from her nan, soaking in a puddle. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and let us know where you're watching from. Because honestly, this story could happen to anyone. Olivia slammed on the brakes and stumbled out of the car, ignoring the sharp pain in her lower back that had been getting worse all day. She ran to the bags, trying to salvage what she could, rain soaking through her coat. No, no, no! She grabbed the quilt, clutching it to her chest. It was ruined. Everything was ruined. The front door opened. James stood there. 6'2", handsome in that posh boarding school way that had first attracted Olivia 5 years ago, wearing an expensive jumper she'd bought him for Christmas, looking at her like she was a stranger, like she was a problem he'd finally solved. What are you doing? Olivia's voice came out as a whisper. James, what are you doing? I told you not to come home. His accent was crisp, detached, the voice he used with telemarketers. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Making what harder? James, I'm your wife. I'm pregnant with your child. You can't just... She gestured at the lawn, at the destruction of her life. You can't just throw me away. It's not my child. The words hung in the air between them, sharp and vicious. Olivia felt the ground tilt beneath her feet. What? You heard me. James stepped out onto the porch. Hands in his pockets, casual, like they were discussing the weather. I don't think that baby is mine. And frankly, I don't care if it is. I want you gone. James. Olivia climbed the steps, desperation clawing at her throat. We've been trying for 3 years. We went to the fertility clinic. You know this is your baby. You were there when you conveniently got pregnant right after I made senior partner at the firm? James's laugh was cruel. Right when my trust fund fully vested? Brilliant timing, really. My solicitor is quite impressed with how calculated it all was. Your solicitor? The words felt like shards of glass in Olivia's mouth. You've been planning this. How long have you been planning this? Long enough. The blonde woman appeared behind James, slipping her arm through his with the ease of familiarity. She was younger than Olivia, prettier in that conventional way that British magazines celebrated, white, Everything Olivia, with her dark skin and natural curls, could never be in James's world. "Hello, Olivia." The woman's smile was poisonous. "I'm Charlotte. I work with James at Chamberlain and Lloyd. Well, I suppose I'm more than a colleague now, aren't I, darling?" She kissed James's cheek. Proprietary. Claiming him. Olivia felt bile rise in her throat. "How long?" "Does it matter?" Charlotte shrugged. "What matters is that James has finally woken up to what everyone at the firm has been saying for years, that you were never quite right for him. A bit too—" She looked Olivia up and down. "Urban, too loud, too American in your mannerisms, despite being born in Brixton. The senior partners' wives never quite warmed to you, did they?" Each word was a precision strike. Because Charlotte was right. Olivia had never fit into James's world of polo matches and charity galas and conversations about which private school to send children they didn't have yet. She'd tried. God, she'd tried. But she'd always felt like an imposter. "I loved you." Olivia looked at James, searching for any sign of the man who'd proposed on the South Bank, who'd cried when she'd shown him the positive pregnancy test, who'd promised her forever. "I gave up everything for you. My job, my flat, my friends." Yes, well, James had the decency to look slightly uncomfortable. "That was your choice. I never asked you to make yourself so dependent." "You did!" Olivia's voice broke. "You said we didn't need two incomes. You said you wanted me to focus on the baby, on making a home. You said—" She stopped, a horrible realization dawning. "You isolated me on purpose, so I'd have nowhere to go when you did this." "Don't be dramatic." But James wouldn't meet her eyes. "Where am I supposed to go?" Olivia's hands went to her belly, protective. "James, I'm 7 months pregnant. I have no job, no flat, no—" "You have family, don't you?" Charlotte's voice was bored. "Those brothers of yours, the ones who made such a scene at your wedding, I'm sure they'll take you in." Olivia's 3 older brothers, Elijah, Isaiah, and Tobias. She hadn't spoken to them properly in over a year, not since they'd warned her about James, not since they'd told her he'd make her choose between him and them, and she'd chosen wrong. "My brothers," Olivia started, "are probably laughing that they were right about me," James finished. "Yes, I know. They never thought I was good enough for you. Ironic, really, considering—" He gestured at Olivia, at her rain-soaked clothes and desperate expression. "Considering you're the black girl from South London who married up," was the unspoken end to that sentence. "I'm calling the police." Olivia pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "You can't just kick me out of my own home. We're married. I have rights." "Actually, you don't." James pulled a folded document from his pocket and handed it to her. "The house is in my name, purchased with my family's money. You're not on the deed, remember? We were going to add you eventually." Olivia unfolded the papers with numb fingers. Eviction notice, divorce petition, a restraining order application stating that Olivia had been emotionally unstable and potentially dangerous. "You can't do this." But even as she said it, Olivia knew he could. James's family had money, real money, old money, the kind that bought solicitors who could make inconvenient wives disappear. "I already have." James nodded toward the street. "You have 30 minutes to collect your things and leave. If you're still here when the police arrive, you'll be arrested for trespassing." "Trespassing? In my own home?" "My home," James corrected. "You've just been living here, there's a difference." The baby kicked hard as if protesting. Olivia gasped, her hand going to her belly. The pain in her back was getting worse. She needed to sit down, needed to breathe, needed— 30 minutes, Charlotte said sweetly. "Though honestly, darling, most of your things are ruined anyway. The rain, you know. Perhaps just take the car and go." "The car is in my name too," James added. "So you'll need to leave the keys." "How am I supposed to leave if I can't take the car?" That's not really my problem, is it? James checked his watch, the Rolex Olivia had saved for months to buy him. 29 minutes now. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. Olivia had woken up this morning as a wife, as someone with a home and a future. How was she now standing in the rain, 7 months pregnant, being evicted by her own husband while his mistress watched with amusement? James, please. Olivia hated herself for begging, but what choice did she have? Please, I have nowhere to go. Just give me a few days to figure something out. I won't bother you. I'll stay in the spare room. I just need... No. James's voice was final. Charlotte's moving in this weekend. We need you gone. Charlotte was moving in. This weekend. Which meant James had been planning this for weeks, maybe months. Planning the exact right moment to destroy Olivia's life with maximum efficiency. The baby kicked again, harder this time, and Olivia felt something warm and wet trickle down her leg. No, please, no. Not now. She looked down and saw the puddle forming at her feet. Not rainwater. Something else. I think... Olivia's voice came out strangled. I think my water just broke. James and Charlotte exchanged a glance. For a moment, just a moment, Olivia saw panic flash across James's face. Then it was gone, replaced by cold calculation. Then you should probably go to hospital, James said. Charlotte, call her a taxi. A taxi? Olivia could barely breathe. The contractions were starting, sharp, brutal pains that made her double over. James, I'm in labor. With your daughter. You can't... I can and I am. He stepped back toward the door, toward safety, toward Charlotte. This isn't my problem anymore, Olivia. You made your bed when you trapped me with this pregnancy. Now lie in it. He went inside. The door closed. The lock clicked. And Olivia was alone on her front lawn, in labor, in the rain, with her ruined belongings scattered around her, like the remains of a life she'd never get back. She fumbled for her phone, rain making the screen slippery. Her vision was blurring. From tears or pain or shock, she couldn't tell. The contractions were coming faster now, too fast. This wasn't right, it was too early. 7 months wasn't full term. The baby wasn't ready. Olivia wasn't ready. She needed help, needed someone, needed... The phone slipped from her wet fingers and clattered to the ground. Olivia dropped to her knees, clutching her belly, trying to breathe through the pain. Around her, she could see curtains twitching in neighboring windows, people watching, no one helping. This was how she was going to die. On her lawn, giving birth alone in the rain while her husband celebrated inside with his mistress. Please, Olivia whispered to no one, to God, to the universe, to anyone who might be listening. Please help me. Please help my baby. A car screeched to a halt at the curb, then another, then a third. 3 sleek black Range Rovers, the kind that screamed money and power. For a moment, Olivia thought James had called the police after all. Thought she was about to be arrested while in labor. But then the doors opened, and 3 men emerged. Her brothers. Elijah got to her first, the eldest at 38, built like a rugby player, wearing a Savile Row suit that probably cost more than James made in a month. He dropped to his knees beside Olivia without caring about the mud or rain, his hands immediately going to her face. Liv. Jesus Christ, Liv, what happened? Eli. Olivia couldn't get more words out. Another contraction hit, vicious and consuming. She's in labor. Isaiah was there now, 36, leaner but no less imposing, a renowned barrister with a mind like a steel trap. Elijah, we need to get her to hospital, now. I've got her. Tobias, the youngest at 33 but the most ruthless, scooped Olivia into his arms like she weighed nothing. Isaiah, get the door. Elijah, call ahead to St. Mary's. Tell them we're coming in hot with a woman in premature labor. How did you... Olivia gasped between contractions. How did you know? Your neighbor called me, Elijah said, already on his phone with the hospital. Mrs. Abimbola said she saw your husband throwing you out while you were pregnant. We were already on our way when she called back saying you'd collapsed. Mrs. Abimbola, the elderly Nigerian woman next door who Olivia had been too ashamed to talk to properly in months, who had seen everything and called for help when no one else would. Tobias was carrying Olivia toward the Range Rover, moving fast but carefully. Behind them, Isaiah was staring at the house with an expression that promised violence. Isaiah, Elijah warned. Not now. He threw her out while she was pregnant. Isaiah's voice was deadly quiet. He threw our sister out in the rain, and she went into premature labor on the lawn. I'm going to destroy him. Later, Elijah said firmly. Live first. Revenge second. They loaded Olivia into the middle Range Rover, Elijah climbing in beside her while Tobias took the driver's seat. Isaiah disappeared toward the house, and for a moment Olivia panicked. Don't, she managed. Don't hurt him. I don't want you going to prison for— I'm not going to touch him, Isaiah called back. I'm just going to introduce myself to his mistress and let her know exactly what kind of legal hell is about to rain down on them both. The front door was still closed, locked, but Olivia heard Isaiah's fist hammering on it. Heard his voice, cold and professional and utterly terrifying, announcing himself as Olivia's legal counsel. Then Tobias was pulling away from the curb, driving faster than was strictly legal, and Elijah was holding Olivia's hand and telling her to breathe. The baby's too early, Olivia sobbed. Eli, she's too early. 7 months. She's not ready. St. Mary's has an excellent NICU, Elijah said firmly. Best in London. She's going to be fine. You're both going to be fine. How can you know that? Because you're a fighter, Liv. Always have been. And your daughter is going to be just like you. Elijah's grip on her hand tightened. And because we're not going to let anything happen to either of you. Not now, not ever again. Another contraction hit, and Olivia screamed. 5 minutes out, Tobias called from the front. Hold on, Liv. Just hold on. Through the pain and the fear and the shock, Olivia felt something she hadn't felt in years. Something she'd forgotten existed. Safety. Her brothers had come. After a year of silence, after she'd chosen James over them, after she'd accused them of being jealous and controlling, they'd come anyway. And as the Range Rover raced through North London toward the hospital, as Elijah murmured reassurances and Tobias broke every traffic law to get her there faster, as Isaiah's voice echoed in her memory promising revenge, Olivia realized something. James had taken her home. Her belongings. Her dignity. Her sense of self-worth. But he hadn't taken her family, and that was going to be his biggest mistake. The pain was unbearable. Olivia had read the books, attended the prenatal classes, listened to other mothers describe labor. None of it had prepared her for this, for the feeling that her body was being torn apart from the inside, for the terror of knowing it was too early, for the clinical chaos of St. Mary's emergency department as they rushed her through automatic doors. 29-year-old female, approximately 30 weeks gestation, premature rupture of membranes. A paramedic was rattling off information to a doctor in Navy scrubs. When had the paramedics arrived? Olivia couldn't remember. Everything was blurring together. Get her to delivery suite now. Alert NICU. I want neonatology standing by. Strong hands transferred Olivia from the wheelchair, when had she been put in a wheelchair, to a hospital bed. Elijah was beside her, still holding her hand, his expensive suit soaked through and ruined. He didn't seem to care. Sir, you'll need to wait outside while we examine. I'm not leaving her. Elijah's voice brooked no argument. She's alone, terrified, and in premature labor because her bastard husband threw her out in the rain. So no, I'm not waiting outside. The midwife looked like she wanted to argue, then seemed to think better of it. Elijah Chen Okafor had that effect on people. The kind of presence that made even medical professionals reconsider their protocols. Fine, but stay out of the way. She turned to Olivia with a gentler expression. I'm Aisha. I'm going to take care of you, all right? Can you tell me when the contractions started? Maybe 40 minutes ago? Olivia gasped. I don't know. Everything happened so fast. My water broke, and James, my husband, he just left me there. He left me on the lawn. Aisha's expression darkened, but her voice stayed calm. Well, you're safe now. Let's see what's happening with this baby, shall we? The examination was swift and professional. Aisha's face grew more serious as she worked. You're already 6 centimeters dilated, she said finally. This baby's coming soon, whether we like it or not. We can try to slow things down, but at 30 weeks... 30 weeks is viable, though, right? Elijah interrupted. I researched it on the drive over. 90% survival rate with modern NICU care. Your husband? Brother, Olivia and Elijah said simultaneously. Right. Aisha smiled slightly. Yes, 30 weeks is viable. We have an excellent neonatal team here. But I won't lie to you. Your baby will likely need intensive care for several weeks, possibly months. Months, in the NICU, without James, without a home to bring her baby back to. Another contraction hit, and Olivia screamed. That's it, love. Breathe through it. Aisha coached her through the pain with practiced ease. You're doing brilliantly. The door burst open. Isaiah strode in, slightly disheveled, his tie loosened. He was carrying an enormous bag that Olivia recognized as her hospital go-bag, the one she'd packed weeks ago and left in the nursery. How the hell did you get that? Olivia managed between contractions. I have my ways. Isaiah's smile was sharp. Let's just say James's mistress was very cooperative once I explained the legal ramifications of denying access to your personal property. You didn't hurt her? I'm a barrister, not a thug. I hurt people with words in litigation. Isaiah set the bag down. But I may have mentioned that kicking a pregnant woman out of her home constitutes domestic abuse under the Family Law Act, and that we'd be pursuing criminal charges in addition to the civil suit. She went quite pale. Criminal charges? Olivia tried to focus through the fog of pain. Can you actually do that? Oh, absolutely. Isaiah pulled out a tablet and began scrolling through what appeared to be legal documents. James committed several prosecutable offenses today. Unlawful eviction, domestic abuse, potential child endangerment, and that's just for starters. Isaiah, Elijah warned. Not now. She should know. Isaiah looked at Olivia. She should know that the man who did this to her is going to pay for it in every way possible. Before Olivia could respond, Tobias appeared in the doorway with a woman in her 60s, elegant, with silver-streaked locks and the kind of regal bearing that made everyone in the room stand a bit straighter. Auntie Grace? Olivia couldn't believe her eyes. What are you... You think your brothers would let you go through this alone? Grace Chen Okafor, their mother's sister, the family matriarch, swept into the room and immediately took Olivia's other hand. I was on a plane from Manchester the moment Elijah called. Now where's this midwife? I want to know exactly what's happening with my great-niece. Aisha straightened instinctively. And you are? Her family. The family that's actually here, unlike that waste of space she married. Grace's accent was pure Mancunian, sharpened by decades of taking no nonsense from anyone. Now talk to me like I'm intelligent because I am. What are we looking at? Despite the pain, Olivia felt a hysterical laugh bubble up. Grace had that effect, walking into any situation and immediately taking charge. Their mother had been the same way. God, Olivia missed her mother. Premature labor at 30 weeks, Aisha said, clearly deciding Grace was someone to take seriously. Baby's coming fast. We're setting up for delivery now, and NICU is on standby. Good. Grace squeezed Olivia's hand. You hear that, darling? Your daughter's going to be just fine. She's got Chen Okafor blood. We don't give up easily. Another contraction, worse than the others. Olivia felt something shift inside her, a pressure building that felt both wrong and inevitable. I need to push, she gasped. Aisha, I need to... Not yet, love. Pant for me. Short breaths. Aisha was checking between Olivia's legs again. Bloody hell, babe. You're at 9 centimeters. This baby's in a hurry. She hit a button on the wall. I need the on-call obstetrician in here now. And where's my neonatal team? The room exploded into controlled chaos. More medical staff flooded in. Someone was setting up warming equipment. A doctor in scrubs was introducing himself as Mr. Okonkwo, the consultant obstetrician. Elijah was being pushed aside to make room, but he kept his eyes locked on Olivia, steady and reassuring. Sir, you really should wait outside. Someone tried again. He stays. Olivia surprised herself with the force of her voice. All of them stay. They're my family. All of them? The nurse looked at the 3 imposing men and 1 formidable woman crowding the delivery room. All of them, Grace confirmed. Now get on with it. This baby's coming. And she was. Olivia could feel it, the overwhelming pressure, the primal urge to push that overrode every other thought. This was happening. Her daughter was coming 10 weeks early into a world where she had no father and no home. But she had family. She had her brothers and her aunt and a room full of medical professionals determined to keep her alive. It would have to be enough. All right, Olivia, Mr. Okonkwo was saying. Next contraction, I need you to push. Big breath in, chin to chest. Push down toward your bottom. Can you do that for me? Olivia nodded, terrified. The contraction came like a tsunami. Olivia pushed with everything she had, squeezing Grace's hand so hard she probably broke bones. Grace didn't flinch. Good, that's brilliant. Aisha was coaching her through it. Rest now. Next one, we do it again. Time lost meaning. There was only pain and pushing and voices telling her she was doing well. She was almost there, just one more push. Olivia's world narrowed to this moment, this fight to bring her daughter into the world safely. I can see the head. Aisha's voice was excited. She's got lots of dark hair, Olivia. One more big push and we'll have her. Dark hair. Like Olivia's. Nothing like James's sandy blonde. Good. Olivia gathered every remaining ounce of strength and pushed. And then, a sound. The most beautiful, terrible sound she'd ever heard. A thin, reedy cry. Not the lusty wail of a full-term baby, but a cry nonetheless. It's a girl! Aisha was holding up a tiny, slippery creature who looked impossibly small and fragile. You did it, Olivia! But before Olivia could even touch her daughter, the neonatal team was there, whisking the baby away to the warming table. Olivia tried to sit up, panic flooding through her exhaustion. Where are they taking her? I want to see her. They're just checking her over, Grace soothed, but her eyes were on the neonatal team with laser focus. Making sure her lungs are working properly. The baby's cries were getting stronger. That was good, right? Olivia watched through tears as the NICU doctor examined her daughter, so small, barely the length of his forearm. They were putting something over her face. Oxygen? An oxygen mask? Her O2 sats are low, one of the neonatal nurses was saying. She's working too hard to breathe. Start her on CPAP, the NICU doctor ordered. And let's get her upstairs. Mom, you'll be able to visit her once you're recovered, but right now she needs intensive care, Mr. Okonkwo finished gently. Olivia, your daughter's alive and fighting. That's what matters. The team will take excellent care of her. They were wrapping her baby in blankets, placing her in what looked like a clear plastic box on wheels. Olivia caught a glimpse of impossibly tiny hands, dark skin, a scrunched-up face that somehow already looked indignant at being born too soon. "Wait!" Olivia reached out. "I haven't held her. I haven't even—" Aisha squeezed her shoulder. "I know, love, but she needs the NICU right now. You'll see her soon, I promise." "What's her name?" one of the nurses asked, pen poised over paperwork. Name. They'd been going to name her together, her and James. They'd had a short list. Amelie, Jasmine, Sophie. But those were names James had chosen. Names for a daughter who would grow up in Hampstead with a father who worked in the city and a mother who knew her place. This daughter would be different. Would be raised by a mother who'd learned the hard way that you couldn't trust anyone but family. Would grow up knowing her uncles had saved her life before she'd even taken her first breath. "Hope," Olivia said firmly. "Her name is Hope Ama Chen Okafor." Ama, after their mother. Chen Okafor, the family name Olivia should never have given up. Not a trace of James Whitmore anywhere. "Beautiful name," Aisha said softly. "Right then, Hope Ama Chen Okafor. Let's get you upstairs where you can grow big and strong." They wheeled Hope away, and Olivia felt something inside her break. She'd imagined this moment so many times, holding her baby, counting tiny fingers and toes, that rush of overwhelming love everyone talked about. Instead, her daughter had been taken away before Olivia could even kiss her. And it was all James's fault. "I'm going to kill him," Tobias said quietly. "I'm actually going to kill him." "Get in line," Isaiah muttered. "Boys," Grace's voice was sharp. "Your sister needs you focused, not fantasizing about murder. There are legal ways to destroy a man's life. We'll use all of them." Elijah had been silent through the delivery, just holding Olivia's hand and being present. Now he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of absolute certainty. "James Whitmore kicked you out while pregnant. You went into premature labor because of the stress he caused. Your daughter is in the NICU fighting to breathe because of him." He looked at his brothers. "We're not just going to destroy him financially. We're going to make sure everyone, his firm, his family, his friends, knows exactly what kind of man he is." "How?" Olivia felt numb, exhausted, empty. "He has his family's money. His firm will protect him. And Charlotte Pemberton," Isaiah supplied, reading from his tablet. 26 years old, junior associate at Chamberlain & Lloyd, daughter of Gerald Pemberton, one of the senior partners. His smile was vicious. "Oh, this gets better. Did you know workplace relationships have to be declared to HR, especially when there's a power imbalance?" "James is senior to her," Olivia said slowly. "Very senior. He supervises her work, which means this isn't just an affair. It's a potential harassment situation. And Chamberlain & Lloyd is very sensitive about their reputation right now. There was a lawsuit 2 years ago." They settled quietly, but the whispers never quite went away. "You're going to get him fired," Olivia realized. "We're going to do more than that." Tobias had his phone out, typing rapidly. "I'm texting our PR contact at The Guardian. Human interest story. Pregnant black woman kicked out by wealthy white husband goes into premature labor on her lawn while he celebrates with his mistress. Think that'll play well?" "Tobias." Olivia hesitated. Did she want this? Did she want her private pain splashed across newspapers? "You don't have to decide now," Elijah said gently. "Rest. Recover. We'll handle everything else." But Olivia was thinking about Hope, about her tiny daughter fighting to breathe in the NICU, about all the things James had taken from them, not just a home or money, but Hope's chance at a full-term birth. Her chance to be healthy and strong from day one. "Do it," Olivia said. "Tell the story. All of it. I want everyone to know what he did." Grace smiled, fierce and proud. "That's my girl." The next few hours passed in a blur. Olivia was moved to a recovery ward. She was cleaned up, given pain medication, offered food she couldn't eat. All she wanted was to see Hope, but the midwife said she needed to rest first to regain some strength. Her brothers took turns sitting with her, never leaving her alone, never letting her fall apart, even though she desperately wanted to. It was Elijah who was there when the neonatologist came to give an update. Dr. Amara Nwosu was young, competent-looking, with kind eyes behind her glasses. "Miss Chen Okafor, I wanted to update you on Hope. She's stable, which is excellent news for 30 weeks. She's on CPAP to help her breathing, and we've started her on IV fluids and nutrition. Her weight is 2 pounds, 7 ounces, small but within normal range for her gestational age." 2 pounds. Hope weighed less than a bag of flour. "When can I see her?" Olivia's voice cracked. "Now, if you're feeling up to it. We can take you up in a wheelchair." Dr. Nwosu hesitated. "I should warn you. The NICU can be overwhelming. Lots of equipment, lots of noise. Hope will have wires and tubes attached. It can be frightening, but I promise you she's receiving the best possible care. I want to see my daughter." 10 minutes later, Olivia was being wheeled through the doors of the neonatal intensive care unit. The sound hit her first: beeping monitors, hissing ventilators, the occasional cry of a baby. Then the sight: rows of incubators, each containing a tiny human being fighting for life. And in the far corner, in an incubator labeled Hope Chen Okafor, was her daughter. Olivia's breath caught. Hope was so small, so impossibly, terrifyingly small. She wore nothing but a nappy the size of a playing card and a little knitted hat. Wires snaked from her chest, monitoring her heart rate, her oxygen levels, her breathing. A thin tube ran from her nose, delivering the CPAP pressure that helped her tiny lungs work. Her skin looked almost translucent, delicate as tissue paper. But she was beautiful. "Would you like to touch her?" The NICU nurse, badge reading Sarah, was smiling. "You can't hold her yet, but you can put your hand in through the porthole. Skin contact is wonderful for premature babies." With shaking hands, Olivia reached through the circular opening in the incubator. Her finger touched Hope's tiny palm, and the baby's fingers closed around it instinctively. That grip, barely there but undeniably present, broke something open in Olivia's chest. "Hello, Hope," she whispered. "Hello, my darling girl. I'm your mummy. I'm here. I'm so sorry you had to come so early, but I'm here now and I'm never leaving you. Do you hear me? Never." Hope's eyes were closed, but Olivia swore she could see her daughter responding to her voice. The heart rate monitor steadied. Hope's tiny body seemed to relax slightly. "She knows you," Sarah said softly. "Babies always know their mothers." Olivia sat there for what might have been minutes or hours, just touching her daughter, memorizing every detail. The dark hair that curled slightly at her forehead, the perfect tiny nose, the impossibly delicate fingers and toes. This was her daughter, her Hope. And no matter what James had done, no matter what came next, this was worth it. Hope was worth everything. "Miss Chen Okafor?" A different voice, male and hesitant. Olivia looked up to see a man in an expensive suit standing awkwardly at the entrance to the NICU. He was about 50, with the kind of distinguished gray hair that came from stress and power in equal measure. "I'm Gerald Pemberton," he said, "from Chamberlain and Lloyd, Charlotte's father. I wonder if I might have a word." Elijah was on his feet immediately, positioning himself between Olivia and the intruder. "Absolutely not. You have some nerve showing up here." I know, and I apologize." Gerald held up his hands. "But I felt you should know. James Whitmore has been terminated from the firm, effective immediately. Charlotte has been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation into their relationship." Olivia stared at him. "You fired him?" the moment we learned what he'd done. Miss Chen Okafor, I want to be very clear. Chamberlain and Lloyd does not condone what happened to you. James's behavior was unconscionable. Gerald looked genuinely distressed. My daughter's involvement is... I have no words, no excuse. She's been removed from your home and is currently staying with her mother and myself while we determine appropriate consequences. Appropriate consequences? Elijah's voice was ice. Your daughter helped throw a pregnant woman out of her home. Your employee abandoned his wife while she was in labor. And you think administrative leave is sufficient? No. Gerald's composure cracked slightly. No, I don't. Which is why I came here personally to tell you that the firm will be cooperating fully with any legal action you choose to pursue. We'll be releasing a statement condemning James's actions, and we'll be making a substantial donation to this hospital's NICU in Hope's name. We don't want your money, Olivia said quietly. I know, but I'm offering it anyway. What my daughter did, what James did, it's unforgivable. I can't fix it, but I can make sure they both face consequences. He pulled out a business card and set it on the nearby table. If there's anything you need, legal assistance, financial support, a place to stay, please don't hesitate to contact me. Any hour, any day. He left before Olivia could respond. Well, Elijah said after a moment, that was unexpected. His daughter helped destroy my life, and he thinks a donation will fix it, Olivia said bitterly. No. Isaiah had appeared, his tablet in hand as always. He thinks public accountability will fix it. Look. He turned the screen to show Olivia. Twitter was exploding. #justice. For Olivia was trending. Someone, probably Tobias's guardian contact, had already published the story. The comments were vicious, directed squarely at James and Charlotte. And there, in her inbox, were messages from people Olivia barely knew. Friends from university she hadn't spoken to in years. Old colleagues, even a few of James's relatives, apologizing and offering support. The story was out, and public opinion had already rendered its verdict. We told you, Tobias said, satisfaction evident in his voice. We'd make him pay. Olivia looked back at Hope, at her tiny daughter fighting in her plastic box, and felt something settle in her chest. Something hard and determined. James had taken her home, her security, her trust. But she still had her daughter, her family, her strength, and that would be enough. More than enough. It would be everything. 3 weeks later, Olivia sat in the NICU at 3 a.m., her hand resting gently on Hope's tiny chest through the incubator porthole, and wondered if she'd ever sleep properly again. Hope had gained weight, 3 pounds, 2 ounces now. A victory, the doctors said. Her breathing had improved enough to come off CPAP and move to a simple nasal cannula. Another victory. She could regulate her own temperature now, which meant she'd graduated from the incubator to an open cot with a warming light. Every day brought new small miracles, and every night Olivia sat here in the dim light of the NICU, watching her daughter breathe, and thought about everything that had led them to this moment. You should be sleeping. Elijah's voice came from behind her. He appeared with 2 cups of coffee from the hospital cafe, handing her one. It's 3 a.m, Liv. So are you. Olivia accepted the coffee gratefully. Shouldn't you be at home with Diane and the kids? Diane understands, and the kids are with her parents this week. Elijah settled into the chair beside her, his eyes on Hope. She's doing well. The doctors are pleased. She's still so small. Olivia's voice caught. 3 pounds. She should be nearly double that by now if she'd been full term. But she's gaining, fighting, surviving. Elijah squeezed Olivia's shoulder. She's a Chen Okafor. We don't give up. The nickname had stuck. The nursing staff had started calling Hope The little fighter, after she'd successfully pulled out her feeding tube twice in one day. Sarah, the primary nurse, joked that Hope was already showing signs of her mother's stubborn streak. "Have you seen the news?" Elijah asked carefully. Olivia had been avoiding the news, avoiding social media, avoiding everything except this chair, this incubator, this tiny person who needed her. "What now?" Elijah pulled out his phone and showed her. The headline read, "Chamberlain and Lloyd faces discrimination lawsuit from former employee's wife." Olivia scanned the article. Isaiah had filed the lawsuit 3 days ago, not just against James, but against the firm itself, alleging they'd enabled a hostile work environment that led to the dissolution of her marriage and the premature birth of her child. "Isaiah didn't tell me he was doing that," Olivia said quietly. "Because he knew you'd tell him not to, that you'd say it was too much, too aggressive, too public." Elijah's voice was gentle but firm. "Liv, they destroyed you. They kicked you out while pregnant. Hope nearly died because of what they did. You don't get to protect them now." "I'm not protecting them, I'm just—" Olivia stopped. What was she doing? Even now, some part of her wanted to be the bigger person, to handle this quietly, to not make waves. That instinct was what had made her vulnerable in the first place. "You're just finally letting us protect you the way we should have been allowed to all along," Elijah finished. "Let us handle the legal warfare. You focus on getting our niece strong enough to come home." Home. The word still felt strange. Olivia didn't have a home anymore. For the past 3 weeks, she'd been staying in the guest suite at Elijah's house in Dulwich, a far cry from the Hampstead terrace she'd been thrown out of, but infinitely warmer. Diane had welcomed her without judgment, had stocked the room with everything Olivia needed, had taken over the practical matters of life, so Olivia could focus on Hope. The twins, Elijah's 8-year-old daughters, had made welcome signs and asked daily when their new cousin would be coming home. It was more family than Olivia had felt in years. "James called me yesterday," Olivia said suddenly. "Left a voicemail." Elijah's expression darkened. "What did he say?" "That he wants to talk. That things got out of hand. That he's willing to discuss reconciliation if I drop the lawsuits and the media attention." "Absolutely fucking not." "I know." Olivia looked at Hope, at her daughter's chest rising and falling with each breath. "I deleted it without finishing, but part of me wondered, what if he means it? What if he wants to be Hope's father?" "He had his chance to be her father." Elijah's voice was hard. "He threw it away when he threw you out." "Liv, listen to me. James doesn't want reconciliation. He wants damage control. His career is ruined. His reputation is destroyed. Every firm in London knows what he did. He's radioactive." "Good," Olivia said, surprising herself with the viciousness of it. "That's my girl." Elijah smiled grimly. "Don't let him manipulate you now. He had his chance. He made his choice. Now he gets to live with the consequences." One of the monitors started beeping. Olivia's heart leapt into her throat, but Sarah was already there, calm and efficient, adjusting Hope's position. "She's fine," Sarah assured them. "Just had a little Brady episode. Her heart rate dipped when she forgot to breathe for a moment. Completely normal for preemies. See? She's already recovering." The monitor settled back into its steady rhythm. Olivia's own heart took longer to calm down. "You should know," Elijah said after Sarah had moved away. "Gerald Pemberton made good on his promise. He donated £2 million to the NICU. They're using it to buy new equipment and fund a support program for families of premature babies." £2 million. The number was staggering. "That doesn't fix what his daughter did," Olivia said. "No. But Charlotte's facing consequences too. She's been fired from Chamberlain and Lloyd. No other major firm will touch her, not with the harassment investigation on her record. Last I heard, she was moving to Edinburgh. Fresh start where no one knows what she did." "And James?" "Unemployed. Unemployable in corporate law. His family's cut him off financially. Apparently, his father was appalled by what he did. James is living in a flat in Croydon and working for some small-time solicitor's office doing conveyancing. Elijah's satisfaction was evident. Quite the fall from grace. Olivia should have felt triumphant, vindicated, but mostly she just felt tired. "I don't care about James anymore," she said quietly. "I just want Hope to be healthy enough to come home." "She will be." Elijah checked his watch. Dr. Nwosu said maybe another 3 to 4 weeks if she keeps progressing like this. And by then, we'll have sorted out your housing situation. "I can't stay with you forever." "Why not?" Elijah's tone suggested he'd already decided this was happening. "We have the space. The twins adore you. Diane's already planning the nursery setup, and Hope will have her cousins right there. Family." Family. That word again. The thing Olivia had almost lost when she'd chosen James. The thing that had saved her when everything fell apart. "Thank you," Olivia whispered, "for everything. For coming when I needed you. For not saying, 'I told you so.' For—" "You're our sister," Elijah interrupted. "We protect our own. Always. That's not something you need to thank us for." Olivia's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and felt her stomach drop. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. About Hope. About custody. About doing what's right. I'm still her father, whether you like it or not." James Elijah saw her expression and held out his hand. "Let me see." Olivia handed him the phone. She watched his face darken as he read the message. "He's threatening a custody battle," Elijah said flatly. "After everything he's done, he's actually threatening to fight you for custody of a daughter he didn't even want." "Can he do that?" Panic clawed at Olivia's throat. "Can he take her from me?" "No." Elijah was already texting someone, probably Isaiah. "First, Hope's in the NICU because of his actions. Second, he abandoned you both. Third, we have documentation of everything: the eviction, the divorce filing before Hope was even born, the text messages. No judge in the country would give him custody. But partial custody? Visitation? We'll fight that too. Isaiah's already prepared for this. We knew James would try something once he realized the financial implications of being an absent father." Financial implications. Child support. That's what this was about. James didn't want Hope. He wanted to avoid paying for her. "Forward that message to Isaiah," Elijah instructed. "It's evidence of his continued harassment. And block James's number. He can communicate through solicitors from now on." Olivia did as she was told, her hands shaking. The thought of James having any access to Hope, of him being able to show up and demand visitation, of having to see him ever again. "Breathe," Elijah said firmly. "Liv, breathe. This is just posturing. He's desperate and lashing out. Isaiah will handle it." "I can't lose her," Olivia's voice broke. "Eli, I can't lose Hope. She's all I have left." "You have us. You have your whole family. And you're not going to lose Hope, I promise you." Elijah pulled Olivia into a hug, careful of her still healing body. "We've got the best lawyers in London. We've got public opinion on our side. And we've got documentation of everything James did. He can threaten all he wants. He's not getting anywhere near your daughter." The custody threat turned out to be exactly what Elijah predicted: empty posturing. Isaiah's response to James's solicitor was brutal and comprehensive. 47 pages detailing James's abandonment, the medical evidence of stress-induced premature labor, witness statements from Mrs. Abimbola and the hospital staff, and photographs of Olivia's belongings scattered across the lawn in the rain. The solicitor withdrew the custody petition 3 days later, but the damage was done. Olivia jumped every time her phone buzzed, had nightmares about James showing up at the NICU and taking Hope. Couldn't shake the fear that somehow, some way, He'd find a legal loophole to take her daughter away. "You need to talk to someone," Diane said gently one morning at breakfast. "Olivia, love, you're showing signs of postnatal PTSD. This isn't healthy." "I'm fine," Olivia said automatically. "You're not fine. You barely eat. You don't sleep. You're having panic attacks." Diane's voice was kind, but firm. She was a therapist herself, specialized in trauma. She knew what she was seeing. "What James did to you was traumatic. Hope's premature birth was traumatic. You're allowed to struggle with this. I need to be strong for Hope. Being strong doesn't mean suffering in silence. Being strong means asking for help when you need it." Diane slid a business card across the table. "This is a colleague of mine. She specializes in birth trauma and postnatal mental health. Will you at least meet with her once?" Olivia looked at the card. Dr. Ya Asante, perinatal psychologist. "Fine," she said quietly. "Once." Dr. Asante's office was in Brixton, not far from where Olivia had grown up. Walking through the familiar streets felt surreal, like visiting a past life. The doctor herself was warm in her 50s, with locks threaded with gray and an accent that spoke of Ghana by way of South London. "Diane speaks very highly of you," Dr. Asante said, settling into her chair. "Why don't you tell me what brings you here?" Where did Olivia even start? With James? With the eviction? With going into labor on her lawn while her husband celebrated inside with his mistress? "My daughter was born at 30 weeks, Olivia heard herself say, because my husband kicked me out of our home while I was pregnant, because the stress caused premature labor, because I couldn't protect her." "You think Hope's premature birth is your fault?" "I should have left James earlier, should have seen the signs, should have been psychic?" Dr. Asante's voice was gentle but challenging. "Olivia, you were in an emotionally abusive relationship. The signs are never as clear from inside as they are from outside. And you did protect Hope, you're still protecting her. You're sitting in my office trying to heal so you can be the mother she needs." The session lasted an hour. Olivia cried through most of it, about James, about Hope, about the future she'd imagined that would never exist, about the home she'd lost and the security she'd thought she'd had, and the naive woman she'd been who'd trusted too easily. "Grief is appropriate here," Dr. Asante said. "You're grieving the loss of your marriage, yes, but also the loss of who you thought you were, the loss of the life you thought you were building. That's not weakness. That's human." By the end, Olivia felt hollowed out but somehow lighter, like she'd lanced an infected wound. "I'd like to see you weekly," Dr. Asante said, "at least until Hope comes home and you've adjusted to new motherhood. Will you commit to that?" Olivia nodded. "Yes, I'll commit." 6 weeks after birth, she's ready. Dr. Nwosu was smiling as she delivered the news. "Hope's maintaining her temperature, breathing on her own, feeding well from a bottle. She's 4 pounds, 11 ounces. It's time for her to go home." Home. Olivia had been waiting for this moment for 6 weeks, had dreamed of it, prayed for it, worked toward it. Now that it was here, she was terrified. What if something happens? Olivia's voice was small. What if she stops breathing at home? What if I can't? "You've been trained on infant CPR," Dr. Nwosu said patiently. They'd had this conversation 3 times already. "You know the warning signs of respiratory distress. You have our emergency number, and your family will be there to support you." She's still so small. She is, but she's also a fighter. Dr. Nwosu smiled at Hope, who was currently proving her fighting spirit by screaming at the top of her tiny lungs because she wanted to be fed. "You've got this, Olivia. You're stronger than you think." The discharge took hours, paperwork, final checks, loading the car seat, a top-of-the-line model that Tobias had purchased, into Elijah's Range Rover, saying goodbye to the nurses who'd kept Hope alive for 6 weeks. Bring her back to visit when she's bigger, Sarah said, wiping tears from her eyes. We love seeing our graduates thriving. The drive home was terrifying. Every bump felt dangerous. Every time Hope made a noise, Olivia's heart stopped. By the time they pulled into Elijah's driveway, Olivia was a wreck. But then the front door opened, and the twins came running out, carefully supervised by Diane. She's here! Cousin Hope is here! Girls, gentle, Diane warned. Remember what we talked about. Soft voices, gentle touches. Olivia carried Hope inside, and for the first time in 6 weeks, her daughter was in a real home. Not a hospital, a home. With family who loved her, with cousins who were already fighting over who got to help feed her, with a nursery that Diane had set up in the guest suite, a proper nursery with a cot and a changing table and soft toys. Welcome home, Hope, Olivia whispered, looking down at her daughter's perfect face. Welcome home. 3 months after birth, life settled into a new normal. Hope was thriving, 7 pounds now, catching up on her growth. The twins treated her like a living doll, constantly wanting to help. Elijah and Diane seamlessly incorporated Olivia and Hope into their family routines. Isaiah's lawsuit against Chamberlain and Lloyd settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. Olivia used part of it to buy a small flat in Dulwich, close to her brother's but her own space. Somewhere she and Hope could build their lives. The divorce from James was finalized. He'd signed away all parental rights in exchange for Olivia agreeing not to pursue child support. Isaiah had argued against it, but Olivia was firm. She wanted nothing from James. Not his money, not his name, not his presence in Hope's life. She wanted him erased. The flat was small but bright. 2 bedrooms, a little balcony, hardwood floors. Olivia's brothers helped her move in, bickering good-naturedly about furniture placement while Hope watched from her bouncer. This is good, Tobias said, standing back to survey the living room. This is really good, Liv. It was. For the first time in months, maybe years, Olivia felt like she could breathe. That evening, after her brothers had left and Hope was asleep in her cot, Olivia stood on her balcony and looked out at the London skyline. Somewhere out there, James was living his diminished life. Charlotte was starting over in Edinburgh. The people who'd hurt her were facing consequences. And here, Olivia was rebuilding. Her phone buzzed. A text from Elijah. Sunday dinner at ours. Aunt Grace is coming down from Manchester. She wants to see Hope. No excuses. Olivia smiled. Family dinner. The kind she'd given up for James. The kind she'd thought she didn't need. The kind that had saved her life. She typed back, "We'll be there. Thank you. For everything." Elijah's response was immediate. That's what family does. Love you, sis. Olivia looked back through the balcony door at Hope, sleeping peacefully in her cot. Her daughter, her fighter, the reason for everything. We did it, Olivia whispered. We made it through. And they had. Not unscathed. Olivia still had nightmares, still jumped at unexpected sounds, still saw Dr. Asante every week. Hope still had follow-up appointments with the neonatal team, still needed careful monitoring. But they'd survived. And more than that, they were building something new. Something better than what they'd lost. 1 year later, Hope's first birthday party was held in Elijah's garden on a perfect June afternoon. The whole family was there. Elijah, Diane, and the twins. Isaiah and his partner Marcus. Tobias and his fiancée Amara. Aunt Grace who'd traveled down from Manchester and was already holding court with the other family elders. Mrs. Abimbola had come too, the neighbor who'd called Elijah that terrible day. She'd become an unexpected friend, checking on Olivia and Hope regularly. She's beautiful, Mrs. Abimbola said, watching Hope toddle unsteadily across the grass, supported by the twins. And so big now, I remember when she was tiny enough to hold in one hand. She's caught up completely, Olivia said with pride. The pediatrician says you'd never know she was premature. Because she's a fighter, like her mother. Olivia watched her daughter, her beautiful, healthy, thriving daughter, and felt overwhelming gratitude for her brothers who'd saved them, for Dr. Asante, who'd helped her heal, for the NICU staff who'd kept hope alive, but for every person in this garden who'd shown up when it mattered. Liv, Isaiah appeared at her elbow. Someone's here to see you. Olivia's stomach dropped. If that's James? It's not James. Trust me. Isaiah's expression was unreadable. Come on. He led her around the side of the house, where a man in his 60s was standing awkwardly by the gate. He was tall, with graying hair and kind eyes that looked achingly familiar. Dad? Olivia's voice came out as a whisper. Her father, who she hadn't seen in 15 years, who'd left when she was 14 and never looked back, stood there with tears streaming down his face. Olivia, he said, I know I have no right to be here. I know I left you and your brothers and your mother, and I can never make that right. But Elijah called me, told me what happened with James, told me about Hope. And His voice broke. I couldn't stay away anymore. I had to see you, had to meet my granddaughter, had to tell you how sorry I am. Olivia looked at Elijah, who'd come up behind her. You called him? You get to decide if he stays, Elijah said quietly. But everyone deserves a second chance to do better. Even him. Olivia looked at her father, at the man who'd abandoned them, who'd missed her mother's funeral, who'd left a hole in her life that she'd tried to fill with James. She should tell him to leave, should protect herself and Hope from another potential hurt. But she thought about James, who'd had every chance to be a good father and had chosen to walk away. And she thought about her father, who'd made terrible mistakes but was at least here now, asking for a chance to do better. 1 hour, Olivia said finally. Stay for 1 hour. Meet Hope. Then we'll see. Her father's face crumpled with relief. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you. She led him back to the garden, where Hope was now covered in chocolate cake and shrieking with laughter as the twins made faces at her. Hope, Olivia said, scooping up her daughter. There's someone I want you to meet. She looked at her father, at her brothers standing protectively nearby, at her daughter chocolate-covered and perfect in her arms. This was her family. Broken, complicated, imperfect, but hers. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. This is your grandfather, Olivia said to Hope. He's going to try very hard to do better. Her father reached out one tentative hand. Hope grabbed his finger with her chocolate-covered fist and grinned. Hello, Hope, he whispered. I'm your granddad. And I promise I won't let you down the way I let your mother down. We'll see about that, Elijah said from behind them, his voice carrying a clear warning. But there was room for second chances here. Room for healing. Room for family to be built and rebuilt, broken and mended. Olivia had learned that the hard way, and as she stood in her brother's garden, surrounded by the people who'd saved her and the daughter who'd saved her in return, Olivia finally understood something her mother had tried to tell her years ago. You can't choose your blood family, but you can choose who you let into your heart. And the people who show up when you're at your lowest, those are the ones who deserve to stay. James hadn't shown up, but her brothers had, her aunt had, her neighbor had, and now, tentatively, her father was trying to. That was more than enough to build a life on. That was everything. 5 years later. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning while Olivia was getting Hope ready for her first day of primary school. Subject: Opportunity. Legal consultant. Position. Olivia almost deleted it. She got recruitment emails constantly now. After using her settlement money to complete her law degree, she'd made a name for herself as a family law consultant specializing in domestic abuse cases, helping other women fight the battles she'd once faced. But something made her open this one. Dear Ms. Chen Okafor, we are reaching out regarding a consultancy position with our firm. We are opening a new division focused on family law and domestic abuse cases, and your name came highly recommended. The firm name at the bottom made her breath catch. Chamberlain and Lloyd, LLP, the same firm where James had worked, where Charlotte had worked. The firm that had fired them both and made a public statement condemning their actions. Olivia should delete the email immediately, should want nothing to do with that place. But she kept reading. Our new managing partner has made it clear that we need to rebuild our reputation and demonstrate real commitment to protecting vulnerable clients. Your expertise and personal experience would be invaluable. The position would be senior consultant level with full autonomy to build the practice as you see fit. Mummy, I can't find my shoes, Hope's voice called from her bedroom. Check under your bed, love, Olivia called back, still staring at the email. Chamberlain and Lloyd, the place where it had all started, offering her a position, offering her power. She could walk into that building every day as a senior consultant, could help rebuild their family law division with actual ethics and compassion, could be the person she'd needed when James had destroyed her life. It felt like closing a circle, like the universe offering her a chance to take something broken and make it meaningful. Mummy, I found them! Hope appeared in the doorway, wearing her new school uniform with pride. 6 years old now, healthy and bright and showing no signs of her premature start to life. She had Olivia's dark curls, her determination, and a stubborn streak that reminded everyone of Aunt Grace. You look perfect, Olivia said, pulling her daughter in for a hug. Ready for your first day? Ready. Uncle Eli said he'd pick me up after school and we can go for ice cream. Of course Elijah had. Her brothers had remained constant presences in Hope's life, teaching her chess and how to negotiate, and that she was never, ever to accept less than she deserved from anyone. Olivia looked back at her laptop screen. At the opportunity from Chamberlain and Lloyd. She hit reply. Thank you for your interest. I'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss this opportunity further. Because the best revenge wasn't destruction. It was rising from the ashes stronger than before. It was taking the place that had hurt you and making it better. It was showing everyone who doubted you exactly what you were capable of. That afternoon, after dropping Hope at school and wiping away tears at how grown up her daughter looked, Olivia walked into Chamberlain and Lloyd's gleaming office tower for the first time in 6 years. The receptionist was new. Didn't recognize her. Good. Olivia Chen Okafor, she said with confidence she'd earned the hard way. I'm here for a meeting about the senior consultant position. She was shown to a conference room with views of London stretching out below. Power and prestige and everything James had wanted. And now, it was being offered to her. The managing partner who entered was a black woman in her 50s. Dr. Adana Okonkwo, whose surname Olivia recognized from somewhere. Ms. Chen Okafor, thank you for coming. They shook hands. I'm not sure if you remember, but we've met before. I'm the wife of Mr. Okonkwo, the obstetrician who delivered your daughter. The circle was even smaller than Olivia had realized. I remember, Olivia said quietly. My husband told me what happened. What this firm's former employees did to you. Dr. Miron. Okonkwo's voice was firm. When I took over as managing partner last year, I made it my mission to ensure nothing like that ever happens again. Not in this firm. Not on my watch. Why me specifically? Because you survived it. Because you built a career helping other survivors. Because I want someone in this building who will never forget what it feels like to be on the other side of the law, powerless, scared, and fighting for your life. Dr. Okonkwo slid a contract across the table. This is more than a job offer. It's a chance to change how this firm, and hopefully the industry, handles domestic abuse cases, to make sure no other woman has to fight alone the way you did. Olivia read through the contract. The salary was generous, the autonomy was real. She'd have full authority to build the practice, hire her own team, set policies. She'd be walking into the building where James had worked and claiming it as her own. "I'll need to discuss this with my family," Olivia said. "Of course. Take a week. Think about it." Dr. Okonkwo stood. "But I hope you'll say yes. The work you'd do here, the women you'd help, it matters." That evening, Olivia sat in her flat with Hope cuddled beside her on the sofa, reading bedtime stories even though it was only 7 p.m. because Hope had insisted. Her phone buzzed with a group text from her brothers. Elijah: "So did you take the Chamberlain job?" Isaiah: "Obviously she took it. Who would turn down that opportunity?" Tobias: "I still think she should make them grovel more first." Elijah: "Tobias, they're groveling by offering her the job." Olivia smiled and typed, "I'm thinking about it. It feels weird going back to that place." Elijah: "It's not going back. It's conquering." Isaiah: "Agreed. You'd be walking in there as their superior, making the rules, protecting other women. That's not going back. That's moving forward on your terms." Tobias: "Plus, the look on people's faces when they realize who you are will be priceless." They were right. This wasn't about returning to the scene of her trauma. It was about transforming it into something meaningful. "Mummy?" Hope looked up from her book. "Are you happy?" Such a simple question. Such a complicated answer. Was she happy? She had her daughter, her family, her career, her independence, her strength that she'd earned through surviving the worst thing she could imagine. "Yes, baby," Olivia said, pulling Hope closer. "I'm happy. Are you?" "I'm very happy," Hope declared with 6-year-old certainty. "I have the best mummy and the best uncles and the best cousins, and today I made a new friend at school named Asha, and she has the same lunchbox as me." The simple joys of childhood, the innocence Olivia had fought so hard to protect. "That sounds perfect," Olivia said. That night, after Hope was asleep, Olivia pulled out her laptop and sent the email accepting Chamberlain and Lloyd's offer. She was doing this, walking back into the building where her life had fallen apart and claiming her power. James had tried to destroy her, had thrown her away like she was worthless. But she'd rebuilt herself into something stronger, something better, something he could never diminish again. And now she'd spend her days making sure other women had the resources and support she'd had to fight so hard to find. It wasn't the ending she'd imagined when she'd married James 6 years ago. It wasn't the perfect nuclear family she'd dreamed of. It was better. Because it was real, built on her own strength, surrounded by people who'd proven they'd show up when it mattered. 6 years ago, she'd been kicked out of her home while pregnant, had given birth prematurely on a lawn in the rain, had thought her life was over. Now she was a consultant at a top London firm, a mother to a thriving daughter, a survivor who'd turned her trauma into purpose. The girl who'd been thrown away had become the woman who wouldn't let anyone else be discarded. And that was everything.